Well, hello, this is Peter Combs from Bidamount.com and P.O. Combs Asian Art in Gloucester, Massachusetts. And today is Friday, April 19th, 2019. And I'm happy to say it is a spectacular day here today. It was 62 degrees here at 5 o'clock this morning when I got up. Unbelievably nice, and it's in the 70s now. So spring is here. We're glad. All right, and it's been a busy week around here. We did a lot this week. One of the things we did was we got the video done of the Hong Kong sale that involved the Qianlong collection and the other sales, which were also great, that took place in Hong Kong in the first week of April. The results were exceptional. Everybody should be really pleased. And, there were some disappointments. There always are disappointments in auctions, and they're often not the piece you think that would be disappointing, but you never know. It's a fickle market. But it's sort of an interesting video. It's about 30 minutes long, and you want to check it out over the weekend, please do. We'll have it in the newsletter this weekend. And what else was going on? We finally got around to doing a blog, a formal blog on the website about the Second Opinion program. This is our partnership. We're partnering with eBay to have our banner put onto their website. I think right now they had some trouble with getting the banner on for some reason due to some coding issue. They've resolved it, and I think right now this Second Opinion logo appears right underneath about 840,000 listings, something like that. And it's right here. So if you want to check out the blog, please do. And those of you that already know what we're doing, that's fine too. Okay. And there'll be more on it. eBay's going to be doing some promoting and whatnot. It'll be interesting to see how they handle it. Any rate, let's mosey on over to here. This was a rather nice Ming Dynasty plate that was on eBay last week that sold. Has the double phoenixes and these nice sort of cartoony drawn cavettos running around it with this very stylized fish scale pattern. Everything is sort of, often on these early plates, these Ming plates, everything is sort of exaggerated. All right, and it's got some old gold lacquer and sort of odds and ends repairs, which I kind of like. I think it adds a lot of character to these things. I know everybody wants everything perfect. I think it's nice when you get some evidence of life. The thing has lived a life and you wonder what happened to it. And this did pretty well. It brought $565, which was a perfectly reasonable price for a good Ming Dynasty plate, and with nice color, lots of cobalt, and sort of an interesting bit of repair. I think that's perfectly fine. And then on to this, the pair of late 19th, early 20th century light turquoise ground bases or light blue ground bases. I like the enameling on it, the contrasts of the reds with the greens, and the precious objects are always nice to see. And these leaf form little cartouches at the top. Topped with lotus blossoms. Rather nice. And these did fine. They brought $736, which means the decorative market is still pretty good. The decorative porcelain market is doing just fine, actually. All right, because they're not horribly old, but they did great. And then on to this was this spittoon, Chinese export spittoon. It has the brown dressing on the rim, and I thought the shape of this was sort of interesting. Generally, the bowls are a little bigger, or the upper section is a little smaller, and this one's sort of exaggerated. I like that. And it's got some nice iron red decoration on it. There's some gilding. Clearly an 18th century piece. The seller wasn't sure. He said maybe 18th century. I think he was just being abundantly cautious. Clearly, this is an 18th century example. And it did fine, but it didn't bring the world. $356, and it's as he put it, in perfect antique condition, which means there might be a little wear and rubbing to it. But $356 for one of these is not bad. There was one on here, 6-7 months ago, as I recall, and I think it brought close to $600. So this might have slipped through the cracks. It might have been a very good buy. All right, and then on to this sort of Greek key pattern, iron red and overglazed blue enamel bulb tray. This was rather nice. This was a nice one. Had a little issue up here in the corner, some lines and whatnot, which is not uncommon on these. Here's a picture of the bottom, pretty typical. These latter 19th century examples. So a nice orange peel here in the glaze, not too heavy. Sometimes when they do the copies of these, they overdo the orange peel, and they look like oceans. They're really bumpy, and you don't want to see really bumpy orange peel on porcelain. Not a good thing. All right, but a little bit subtle is fine with a thick glaze. This went for $326, which I don't think was bad based on what other ones have brought. He thought it was Daguan period. I think it might have been a little later. just my opinion of it based on the bottom and how it looks. But at any rate, it was a good one. It was pretty, and it did fine. All right, and then on to this was the big Chinese silk. This was listed as 18th century imperial, and I actually emailed the lady because I wanted to see some better pictures of it, and she was very nice. She sent them to me. I don't think it's 18th century imperial, all right, but I do think it is a very well done piece of silk. The details on this, the details on the tables, all of the work down here was nice. It's almost like a polished silk. Here's the surface on it. There was some inscriptions and whatnot. But to me, this looks, the type of silk it is, the way it's woven, to me looks 19th century. But a very nice one. Okay, a very nice one. If this had been an imperial silk with all this business going on it, it would have gone through the roof. But it ended up selling for $3,900, which is not a bad price for these. Okay, this was a big piece of silk. I forget what the dimensions were. It was 12 feet tall and 8 feet wide. This was a very big piece of silk, so I don't think the price was at all out of line. You had an imperial silk that big, it would have brought well into six figures. But still, a nice thing. And on to this, the Famille Rose Platter, 18th century. These are sort of a well-known type. They made these for export, obviously, with overglazed blue. No underglazed blue on these very often, but a nice one, nicely shaped. It has a little brown dressing on the rim, good deep red enamels fading to rose, good looking. And it went very inexpensively, $212. All right, that was a real bargain. These export plates, I think, if you're looking to get into an area of collecting Chinese porcelain, look into really good Chinese export wares. I think compared to the Chinese domestic market material, these export pieces of equal or much better quality are a lot less money, relatively speaking. All right, relatively speaking. If you're interested in really fine quality and beautiful colors in early, I think export pieces are the way to go these days, pretty clearly. And then onto this was this nice piece of 19th century cloisonne. Good-looking vase. It had the ruffled rim around the top. You often see those on porcelain vases. And here's a picture of the bottom. The bottom, to me, looks like a mid-ish to late 19th century piece of metalwork, but good quality, all top quality enameling, nice yellows, nice clear yellows. Good greens. The outlining of the cloisons was all very well done. You don't have a lot of bad bleeding colors and all that you see sometimes. And I suspect this piece was fairly heavy. He had it listed as just Qing Dynasty, which is fair enough and rare. And it went for $1,477, which seems about right. That seems right about on the money for one of these. But this was a nice one. It had a rather unusual mouth at the top. That's fairly unusual, so that made it more interesting. And then over to here, this was some of the things that our friend Josh Chamberlain had up, was this nice late Ming bronze incense burner. This was the one that I had commented on, that there was another work of art online here that had one of these in it last week, and I said, we want to see an actual incense burner, not a drawing in this shape. He had one. This was a good looking one, gilt bronze, had some wear to it obviously, but a nice old one. And it did great. It brought $7,202, which I don't think is unreasonable. These incense burners like these have gone through New York and London, and they all seem to bring in this $5,000 to $9,000 range on these, depending on the condition. And then this was a heck of a price for a great. Now this was a very, very good garniture set. This is Chinese export, 18th century, probably made in the 1770s or 80s, somewhere in there. And it even had the original receipt from 1972. They paid 1780s. That's what they dated it too. Oh, okay. It went for $1,700 on the receipt in 1972. That was a lot of money back then for export. But this was a particularly fine set. I hope you took a minute to look at it, because these export garniture sets, when they're really fine, are really fine. They're really superb examples of porcelain. And if you look at the bottom, you see how nice and white and crisp the paste is. And here's the decoration. Each section was reliefed with these frames, beautiful landscapes, all this other stuff in there. Very, very good set. And the typical sets of these bring $3,000 to $5,000. This set was better. It brought $14,766. And these were not enormous pieces. These pieces were around 10 inches tall. Some of these garniture sets can be, the vases, these pieces can be up to 16 or so inches tall. I've seen them even bigger, but these were a nice standard size, but a complete garniture, and that's what they did. It was a very good result. All right, and then on to this. This was that Peking enamel Qianlong 4-character marked bowl with cover. And now there was some discussion about this. There always is, that some people thought it wasn't from the period. Some people thought it was. I did speak to a couple of people this week. I spoke to a woman who was a dealer in Hong Kong, and her husband. They're pretty well known. And they thought it was fine. They said they sort of predicted what the price would be. They said it wouldn't bring more than $25,000 because of the subject matter. European subject matter is not of a lot of interest to Chinese mainland collectors much of the time. That was their opinion. All right, and their opinion is pretty good. And judging by how it was being watched and viewed, I think a lot of people thought it was okay. Some people didn't. Some people thought it was made later. But it had impeccable provenance, came from the Clark collection, and the auction house that originally handled it a while ago had the information on it, and they don't lie about this kind of stuff. So if it's from the Clark collection and some pretty good people tell me it looked fine to them, I'm going to have to stick to what I thought of it. At any rate, if you don't think it was, or thought it was late 19th century or something, that's fine too, but I think it was a nice one. And it did really well. It didn't bring the 25,000. It brought 22,324. So it was just a few thousand short of what I was told in the middle of the week that it would bring, which is sort of interesting. All right. Now on to this. He had this Celadon Bowl up. This was a nice piece of Ming Celadon. Very nice example. Beautiful glaze. The color in this glaze was really good. Here's a picture of the bottom. Pretty typical, that iron red, nice heavy iron red in the glaze. Here's a picture of the side. Nice thick glaze here on the shoulder where it runs down and pools, and then pools heavily in the feet and the crevices and so forth. This was a good burner. And it ended up bringing $4,250. All right, but it was nicely done, well decorated, and good proportions. And that goes a long way on examples like that. And then there was also this very nice Kangxi plate, Famille, precious objects, good central field with a pairing of ducks. They often show pairs of ducks because they mate for life. It shows fidelity towards your spouse, and nice foo lions and whatnot around the outside. Here's a picture of the back of it, that very typical Kangxi period, these sort of track foots around the bottom. Nice color to it. It looks fine. And here's a good detail of it. Perfectly good Kangxi plate. And it brought a perfectly good price. It brought $5,300, which is right in there on a real good example without any repairs. If it had a repair, it really kills them, as everybody knows. And then on to this. I think this was the bargain of the week, and I'm kicking myself that I didn't buy it. This was that wonderful 24-inch tall root carving. All right. This was a really good root carving. I thought it was great. And I was stunned at what it brought. Okay, there it is. This is a big root carving, and somebody got a heck of a buy. $415. See, I didn't follow my own rule. Leave a bid. Man, I thought this thing would do just fine. And it was a wonderful carving. And $415 was a bargain, an absolute bargain for that. I think down the road, these carvings, these sort of traditional provincial arts are going to become heavily collected among Chinese collectors. That's a good one. All right. And then on to this was, the head of Buddha. I'm going to put this up. We don't do a lot with Buddha heads and whatnot, but this was a nice one. This was a really good Javanese carved stone Buddha head. It apparently had gone through Sotheby's, and they had the paperwork for it. There it is. All right. Good-looking carving, and I thought it would do pretty well right off the bat because the work looked so good, and the back of the head was quite complete. It wasn't all bashed in and damaged. Sometimes they get really banged up when they were removed. And it brought $6,288, which is a nice one, which is a perfectly good price, judging by what some of these pieces were bringing a couple of weeks ago during Asia Week in New York. That was a perfectly respectable buy, and it was a nice object, all right? And he was the same seller that had that really cool root carving. All right, and now we're going to hop ahead and take a look at some of the things that are coming up in the next couple of days. First, I wanted to take a look here. This is over on Catawiki. Catawiki, we've set up a way that it updates much more rapidly at the bottom of the newsletter page, and it's now populated onto the bottom of the eBay Today page because I've noticed a lot of people looking at the stuff, and increasingly, because they tend to have, across the board, pretty good things. And this is a nice set of 18th century Kangxi underglazed blue dishes. Perfectly nice, and these are ending. These just went up, I believe. They end in 8 days. Okay, so come over and check those out. And there's also this rather nice molded Kangxi period Guform vase with this. I kind of like these multi-sided panels on the midsection, and this is just gone up as well. And there's some nice things over here. This is very good. I like this a lot. Also, a kissing cousin to the vase we just saw, also Kangxi, with its lid. These vases turn up, fairly often, but they never have their lids. The lid is always long gone because they get knocked off and broken and so forth. But this one has its lid, and I think the lid's in pretty good shape. This closes in a few days. All right, and then this nice pair of ho-ho boys, and with the climbing ho-ho boy here. And as I recall, this listing actually shows, I think the listing said they got it at Sotheby's or Christie's a while ago, and they have the catalog. All right, and then on to this, another great looking 18th century plate, very energetically painted. This one, here we go, this pair of dishes. This is a very nice looking pair of Guangzhou late 19th century dishes, but well-known pattern. This is a pattern you've seen before. All right, there it is. All right, and here's the mark, nice late 19th century mark. These look okay to me. These look like period dishes from what I can see. Good decoration, nice enameling, very tidy. Not extraordinarily rare, but very nice. And they're up to $185, and they close tonight. So if you see this in time, jump over and take a bid at them. All right, and then on to this. This is that there's a seller up that's got some really great Chinese export porcelains, and including this one of the European scenes. And this is the Judgment of Paris bowl. It's a fairly rare pattern. There was one on here a while ago, and I think it brought $6,000 or $7,000. So we'll see what this one does. This closes on Sunday. It's at $2,000. It's got 49 bids, and I checked. It's got a lot of watchers and a lot of views. Okay, it's a rare type. And then you have these two bladder-form bottle vases. These are rather nice. Okay, and these are ending also on Sunday. All right, they have Ming mark, but they're actually Qing Dynasty. And then you have this other bowl. This is the same seller that has the nice Judgment of Paris bowl as this. It's about an 8-inch bowl, but very fine, late 18th century, and good quality. Okay, and there'll be a lot more on the newsletter this week once we get to running the scans and pulling out all the information we need. And we'll include it all, and we'll update everything. All right. Thanks so much for watching. Have a fabulous weekend. It's spring. I hope you go out this weekend. Maybe find something you love, bring it home, put it on a shelf or wherever you want it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do here and over on Bidamount.com. Sign up for the newsletter and all that good stuff. All righty. And we'll see you all next week. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.